Thank you. Excellent session.
Thanks so much. Really
Bye.
appreciate it. Bye.
Great.
Thanks a lot.
Just as we move into our handover, as we hand over to the Europe and Africa Hub, I'd just like to say thank you to all of those in Asia and Oceania who have joined us. Hopefully it's been a good time for you, because I know you often suffer from being up in the middle of the night. So I hope you've enjoyed all the sessions, and we've really enjoyed being with you for this time. I just want to say thank you earlier to our Academy colleagues who are based in the Philippines who kindly let us sleep for a few more hours and hosted you all. So I have got a short presentation on WCRP and where CMIP fits, because it can sometimes be a bit complex and confusing. So hopefully that will help. James is then going to be online to give a demo of the new Fresh Eyes platform. So I think that'll be really great to see it up and running, and hopefully everyone can then be engaged with that. And then we'll have some opening remarks from our Africa and Europe Hub with Helene Hewitt, one of the CMIP panel co-chairs. So I'm just going to start sharing the presentation on okay, great. So what is the WCRP? For those of you who are less familiar, it is aiming to coordinate and facilitate international climate research so that we can develop, share and apply the climate knowledge that really contributes to societal well-being. It was established now in 1980, so that's 45 years ago, and initially it was under the sponsorship, so funding of the International Science Council, which was previously called the International Council for Science, and the World Meteorological Organization. Then in 1993, the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission became another co-sponsor. So how the WCRP works is it's got this joint scientific committee with leading climate experts, and that's led by a chair and a vice chair. It's then got 6 core projects and that are sort of enduring, and then 6 lighthouse activities, an academy now, and then lots of other ongoing activities in different fora. Those activities are supported by the WCRP Secretariat, but also a number of the international offices and support units like ourselves at CMIP International Project Office. So just an insight into the WCRP Academy. It aims to be a hub for climate science education. So it connects those providing training in climate science to the consumers, which is, for example, yourselves as early career researchers, but also the wider climate community. So it's a sort of marketplace for climate science training. The training opportunities that are on there are really diverse. There's a lot of interdisciplinary, and it's very accessible. So the hope is that Academy will continue to build this real global community of climate researchers. There are all of the career stages, right from those at the start to those who are at the very end of their careers. And that will help support networking, mentoring and lifelong learning, and really help our climate community become increasingly diverse and inclusive. So please do take a look at the Academy website. It's developing all the time, and they've now got an excellent support unit that's based in the Philippines who are doing a great job at disseminating the information and building these connections. So this is the WCRP organizational structure. So if you have a look at this image, there is a lot going on. So we have these core projects that's in here in the kind of blue color. So there is APARC, which is about atmospheric processes and their role in climate and cryosphere, CLIC, climate and ocean variability, predictability and change, CLIVAR, Earth System Modelling and Observations, ESMO, which is one of the newer core projects, and that's where CMIP sits. There's the Global Energy and Water Exchanges, GWEX, and the Regional Information for Society, RIFS, which is also one of the newer core projects, and that's where CORDEX sits. So each of these core projects has an international project office, and then the WCRP Secretariat support activities across WCRP. But we've also got these lighthouse activities, and their aim is to kind of bridge across the core projects and other ongoing activities. So they are more kind of major experiments or infrastructure building blocks. So things like Digital Earth is looking at the kilometre scale modelling and how the infrastructure can be developed to support that. Then you've got things like My Climate Risk that's looking at climate risks, and they have a very large number of regional hubs and are doing lots of activities there. Safe Landing Climates is about those kind of some of the elements of, say, tipping points as well. So there's lots of really interesting topics going on in those lighthouse activities, and they also bridge across a lot of the core projects. They've got some of these kind of ongoing activities, which are things like rapid updates or assessment reports that can help support the IPCC, for example, or other major assessments. And there's a big drive on improving diversity and capacity building and communications and outreach. So this, as I said, our system modelling and observations, ESMO is where CMIP sits. And just sort of scanning in onto ESMO, it was created and has been running for about 2 years now, fully with their project office. But it was created to coordinate, advance and facilitate all of the modelling, data assimilation and observational activities within WCRP, because they all happen across some of the other core projects, but ESMO is a place to bring them together so there can be real strategic connections and collaborations. The core project, ESMO, is driven by a scientific steering group that was selected through an open call, as are all of the steering groups within WCRP. And they have an overall scientific strategy that they're working towards. There's 4 key working groups that sit under ESMO. That's the Working Group on Coupled Modelling, WGCM, the Working Group on Subseasonal to Interdecadal Prediction, WGCIP, the Working Group on Numerical Experimentation, WGNI, and the Working Group on Observations for Research and Climate, WGORC. And that's just been established, and we have our co-chairs in position, and now their science group is just been recruited again through an open call. So we're looking forward to seeing that get started. So CMIP sits under the Working Group on Coupled Modelling together with the WGCM Infrastructure Panel, and us at the IPO, we support these groups. So this is a bit of a further zoom in on CMIP itself. So we have the CMIP Panel, and they're responsible for the experimental design and the associated requirements. The WIP is focused on developing the data infrastructure to allow the data, the climate data from CMIP, so CMIP 7 as we're moving into, to be delivered and to be accessible, but importantly in that really standardised and consistent manner. We've then got, of course, the Fresh Eyes on CMIP and our CMIP 7 task teams, who've been working now for around 2 years on driving forward that definition of CMIP 7, but also the implementation. We work closely with the Vulnerability, Impacts and Adaptation and Climate Services Advisory Board, which is VIACS, also the Impacts Modelling Community, EasyMIP, and Scenario MIP, who of course developed the scenarios, and they've published recently their scenarios for CMIP 7. We've got other very important groups such as the forcing dataset providers who have delivered the CMIP 7 datasets already, just pending ozone. We've got the MIPs, who are of course really vital part of the CMIP community and really drive forward those answering of the key scientific questions and the new and emerging science. We've got the data nodes under the ESGF, which is our System Grid Federation, that deliver that data. And we, of course, have the modelling centres, who are the engine of providing the simulations and the data that we all are working from. We've got OBS for MIPS as well, which delivers observational information in a format that's consistent with the CMIP model data, and that really supports model evaluation and benchmarking. We have a close connection into the Regional Information for Society core project, particularly with Cordex, but also things like joint task teams on responsible data use, which has just started. And then we engage with our policymakers, with funding agencies, with impacts and adaptation and climate services and new data technologies, and then obviously with all other parts of WCRP. So here is just a few of the faces from CMIP and the WIP. So the CMIP panel is led by Helene Hewitt, who's at the UK Met Office, and John Dunn, who's at JFDL and NOAA. We've got 6 additional core panel members, and they cover all of the global regions now. So we have managed to sort of improve our diversity over recent years. We then have an extended panel, which includes all of our task team co-leads, and then has representatives from key communities such as Scenario, MIP and Cordex. And as I said, the panel is really overseeing the scientific and experimental design of CMIP. We've then got the WGCM infrastructure panel. That is led by Matt Mizolinsky from the Met Office and Paul Jurak, who's at PCMDI at Lawrence Livermore in the US. We've got 8 additional core WIP members. And then again, we have this extended panel with all the WIP task team co-leads, and that we have the partner communities, importantly, that are System Grid Federation, again, Cordex, who provide their data through the ESGF as well, and utilise the standards that CMIP provide too. So they really oversee and provide guidance on infrastructure developments that meet the scientific needs of CMIP. So the CMIP panel and the WIP work very closely together. And ourselves at the International Project Office, we support both these groups and facilitate them, as well as the task teams. And of course, Beth has done a great job in supporting the Fresh Eyes groups. So we are hosted by European Space Agency, and we're based at their UK site in Oxfordshire, EXAT. So there's just a picture of us here. And Paul in the square photo has just joined earlier, so we need to get a full group picture. So we have 5 full-time scientific and technical staff, plus a part-time administrative assistant. And we assist the CMIP community through coordination, communication and strategic planning. So how are decisions made about CMIP? We discuss and agree decisions by consensus within both the CMIP panel and the WIP. Approval of new members to both of these groups is made by WGCM or the ESMO SSG. If we have very major decisions or high impact decisions, then they'll be endorsed by the WCRP Joint Scientific Committee, and that's what happened with the CMIP 7 scenarios, just due to their very high profile, and we wanted to make sure that there was a WCRP-wide sort of endorsement of them. The CMIP 7 task teams make recommendations, and then they submit proposals for decisions to the CMIP panel and WIP. And then when the task teams require additional expertise, we have stakeholder groups, or we invite collaborators or join together with groups in other activities or organisations. We have a public decision log, and the link is here if you want to take a look. This is available on the website, so we're hoping that it makes our decisions more transparent. So a question we got asked a lot when we first were moving into sort of looking at planning for CMIP 7 was, do we really need a CMIP 7? And after quite a lot of discussion and reflection, these are some of the points that we felt were needed to still be addressed. So there's still this need to deliver to the IPCC, but also this increasing climate service sector. And that's including ensemble spread for predictions, the new scenarios, and also the updated historical forcings for attribution studies. We need to know more about the process understanding as the models improve, as we have increasingly complex models, and that could include things like emergent properties. Identification of black swan events from large ensembles, so where there's more and more large ensembles, and there's a large ensembles MIP as well. And also that decomposition of the uncertainties in past and future climate into forcing uncertainty, internal variability, and model response uncertainties. So one element of CMIP 7 that's a bit different from previous cycles is that we have this, what's now called the Assessment Fast Track, was previously AR7 Fast Track. We sort of renamed it to reflect that it's not just for IPCC, but for the range of different climate assessments that are going on at national and international levels. So these are all experiments that we developed. We had a task team called the Strategic Ensemble Design Task Team, and they developed the sort of first ideas. Then we got some community engagement. We had 2 rounds of consultation with both modelling centres and openly with the community to hone down the selection of experiments that would find this balance between delivering what was needed for assessments on a tighter timeline, but also managing the load on the modelling centres. But this doesn't mean that we are not supporting the wider community MIPs that are providing all of this essential science insight. So the infrastructure for CMIP and also our coordination support is really helping with those community MIPs as well. This is the Assessment Fast Track timeline. Many of you might know that the timeline for IPCC is not been approved yet, so we're not quite sure. So we've decided on a kind of timeline we feel might suit the proposed Working Group 1 report approval. And these are including things like managing to get the fast track experiment selection and experimental design done. As I said, our forcings have been largely delivered. The scenarios are being developed and are expected to be delivered just at the end of June. And then we'll have this harmonisation period. And then that will allow the scenarios to start by the end of this year, hopefully. The assessment fast track runs, we expect the first of them. A lot of the modelling centres are doing their spin up at the moment, and we expect a lot to be starting their PI control and historical simulations towards the end of the summer. And also the next generation ESGF and CMIP 7 infrastructure is hopefully going to be in place over the summer. So we've managed to stay pretty close to our timeline, which we're quite happy with, and all of the community has worked very hard on this. So the community workshop is another key time point. So that will happen in March 2026 in Kyoto. So when there was the development of CMIP 7 experimental design with the assessment fast track, sort of 4 key questions emerged during that process that we thought that the current generation of our system models could address through the multi-model ensemble simulations. There is now the CMIP 7 description paper, Dunn et al. 2025, and it is just going through the resubmission process, but you can still see the preprint on the CMIP 7 special issue. So you can read more about these questions, but they are patterns of sea surface change, changing weather, water carbon climate nexus, and tipping points. So I think there's a lot of the MIPs cover sort of all of these, but also there's specific ones for each as well. And we've just highlighted some there. But do please take a look at the paper for further detail on the whole CMIP 7 experimental design. And that is the end of the presentation. If anyone has any questions now on WCRP or CMIP or how we work, please do raise your hand or drop them in the Padlet, and we'll be sure to answer them. No. Okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over to James, who's going to give you a demo of the Fresh Eyes platform.
Morning again, everyone. Thanks for that, Eleanor. Let's just share my screen. Excellent. So hopefully you can all now see a GitHub window. And I'll just pop the link to where that is in the chat. So yes, this is our this is the Fresh Eyes on CMIP GitHub, and within this we've had a project which we've called the Fresh Eyes platform. This is being created by Kelvin, and he unfortunately can't be with us today because he's actually relocating to the Met Office, I think. So when you're a member of the Fresh Eyes GitHub, you're able to then access the discussions tab. And once that loads, this takes you to what we call the Fresh Eyes platform. So we have a range of different discussions already in place, but I'll just sort of quickly work you through some of the things we have. We start at the top. You can see that we have, firstly, the link to the projects and the membership list. This is our general Fresh Eyes engagement links for you to find the other projects that you're interested in, and to also see who's a member of different projects and things like that. And of course, if you want to, the projects that are open to people to join. The other one is our code of conduct. Now, we've had lots of discussions around how this would work, but ultimately, it's an agreement that anyone who joins the Fresh Eyes platform, pardon me, is happy to be a part of the community, but is also going to respect our community guidelines. We don't want to be too restrictive. We want to encourage discussion. We want to encourage engagement, but of course we need to make sure that it's a nice collaborative environment and respectful of people. So we do have a team of people who will moderate the environment and just make sure that the comments are as we want, and are making sure that everyone can feel included and part of our environment. And that's really important because we don't want anyone to feel left out. So I would advise anyone, first time they log onto the platform, just go and check out the code of conduct, get a feeling of how we're going to work it, how it's going to work. And then you can see there are a series of discussions, various groups of things I'm part of. So you see we've had our workshop steering committee. You can see how we were having various discussions in our build-up to start the process. And just sort of, you can see here, I will use the example of my own session. I use this as a way to get people to suggest possible topics that we can include in our practical session that we've got throughout the day. And as with sort of GitHub issues, if you're familiar with GitHub, you can see that there's the opportunity for that opening question, and then people are able to reply, and then you can reply in line to comments. So Kelvin actually, suggested about the CMIP ref. I'd completely forgotten what ref meant because I can't hold all of the CMIP acronyms in my head at one time. And we're able to have that conversation. Now, it's not just about the elements that exist. It's also the opportunity to drive new topics. So I'm just going to create one here. So this morning we had a practical session that'll be repeated later today, and it was given by my colleague Daniel, who can't join us today because he's at a hackathon. So I can select a new discussion. I need to sort of find the area it works in. So it's going to be sort of probably Q&A. So I can select that one, get started now. The title I'll give it, so it's always nerve-wracking to type live on screen. Fresh Eyes Workshop. There we go, first mistake. So the GitHub Copilot demo. And then I'll just, and there we go. The discussion started. Once you remember, if you watch Daniel's presentation, you're able to come along, come into this, and you can ask your own questions. So you can add a question there. Someone can then respond. So either Daniel or myself, we can respond. Hopefully that allows people to get some further benefits and gain from the from that session. And that's our aim. That's what we're looking for with the platform. We're hoping to make sure that people across the community can engage. The nature of this tool means that it's sort of always live. So you can view it you can ask your questions at any time. And much as we've tried with this workshop, it allows people to offer their answers and to ask their questions in their own time, in wherever you work in the world and whatever your working pattern is, because even when we're in our European African hub now, there are some people who are happy to work in the early hours of the morning and other people who work late in the afternoon. Nobody has the same working pattern as everyone else. So the Fresh Eyes platform here allows you just to ask your questions and to offer your answers in your own time, and to hopefully just foster a really nice collaborative environment, and we can all help each other to grow and develop. And of course, from the perspective of my key project within Fresh Eyes, the entry-level documentation I'm doing with Lena, we can also harvest this for potential things we might want to include in developments and updates to the documentation as that grows and comes online. That's what I wanted to talk about. So you can see here that my new topic is at the top and has arrived. So I'm happy to take any questions if anyone's got on this now. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks very much, James. Has anyone got any questions for James? Just check on the Padlet. Don't think we've got any questions there. Has anybody been starting to sort of engage with the platform at all, or has any suggestions? No. Okay, well, as always, you can always let us know if you do have suggestions. You can go in and add it as an issue, or email the CMIP IPO. What I think we're going to do now is maybe just have a short break until 45, and then we will have our opening remarks for the Europe and Africa Hub from Helene Hewitt. So everyone can maybe have 10 minutes away from the screen, have a bit of a stretch, maybe get a cup of tea. And we'll see you all again at 45. To YouTube. If you don't wish to appear on the video, just don't turn your video on. You can raise your hand to ask a question, and that's great. Please do feel free to ask questions out loud. But also, if you're not able to, then you can write your question in the workshop Padlet, and that's the link there, and we'll pop that in the chat for each session. Please also be careful of non-native English speakers. Try and use plain English, so short and direct as possible, and try not to use unnecessary jargon and acronyms. Acronyms are obviously a problem for all of us, as we all use them every day. So now what I'm going to do is hand over to Helene Hewitt, who is one of our CMIP panel co-chairs, and she is going to open our Europe and Africa hub.
Oh, hi. Thanks, Eleanor. I hope I can, I'm delighted really to have the opportunity to say a few words to open this hub of the Fresh Eyes on CMIP Around the World. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be saying, but hopefully I can say something that's inspirational and sets the right tone. First of all, I wanted to say a massive thanks to people who've been up through the night while the rest of us have been asleep, including James, who just spoke before. So thank you for that. Anybody who knows me will know I am definitely not a morning person. So I'm afraid I was not one of those people, but I've heard that it went really well and that there was a great panel discussion. So with that, massive welcome to everyone joining from Africa and Europe. CMIP is very much an international endeavour, so it's really great to see this format which allows people to join from all regions and fully participate. I'm here as the European member on the CMIP panel, but also special welcome to Frederic Bonou, who's one of our newest CMIP panel members, and he's joining from Benin. So you have somebody on the panel both from Europe and Africa here. Yeah, and thanks, Frederic. And if you want to say a couple of words in a minute, that would be great. So on a personal level for me, CMIP's played a really important role in my career. I joined the UK Met Office and the Met Office Hadley Centre after I finished my PhD. And so I've been involved in climate modelling, model development, model evaluation for most of my career. And people who've been really founding members of the CMIP effort, including Kath Senior and from the Met Office and Ron Stauffer from GFDL, have really supported me as I've developed my own career. And for me, being a mentor has been really important, both to people who've worked in my teams, but also to other people. I hope that it helps the people that I mentor. And for me, I've learned a lot from the people that I've mentored, but I really also love to see where people's careers go and how they develop and have their successes in different areas. So for me, having had that history with CMIP through the Met Office, through my work, it was an absolute honour to become the CMIP co-chair a couple of years ago, and bring my experience from working at a modelling centre, as well as at the assessment end in IPCC, to the CMIP process. And one of the real highlights of my time as the CMIP co-chair has been being able to be involved in setting up and launching the Fresh Eyes on CMIP at EGU a few years ago, and seeing the impact that's had on many early careers scientists. So I think there's many great success stories already from Fresh Eyes on CMIP. So for example, it's supported people developing in WCRP circles. So for example, Douglas, who's your co-chair, is now going to be the co-chair of the working group on observation, WGORC. So that's Eleanor might have to tell me what the acronym stands for, observational research in climate, but perhaps you can pop that in the chat, Eleanor. Sorry, Douglas. It's great to see people contributing to CMIP 7, so some great analysis of the forcings data, finding issues that, in fact, John and I were dealing with and deciding how to take forward just yesterday. Looking at responsible use of the data, and that's led to a joint task team with the Regional Information for Society, part of WCRP or RIFS, the development of the user guide for CMIP with James and Lena. So there's many, many examples. So I just wanted to say a massive thanks to all the people who've been involved. So Beth Dingley, as many of you know from the IPO, has been absolutely key to driving this forwards as an early career scientist herself. So massive thanks to Beth. Thanks to Douglas and to Julia for co-chairing, and all of the committee members or panel members, and in fact everybody who's contributed to Fresh Eyes on CMIP. So I hope that that this will be a great day for all of us, that we can share ideas, we can support each other, and really also an opportunity to really celebrate the successes of Fresh Eyes on CMIP to now, as well as look to the way forward. So I hope you all enjoy the day. I'll be around all day, and I'll think of something different to say for the closing remarks for the day. So massive thanks, and enjoy the day. And if Frederic, I don't know whether you can speak, Frederic, but if you are able to and you want to say something from the Africa side, that would be great as well.
Yes, hi everybody. Thank you, Helene. Thank you, for this opportunity, to join CMIP IPO last year. I think that was in June. That was in July. I was very happy. And the discussion and yes, our contribution to CMIP 7 data, I think is very nice, and very happy to be in this community. Thank you.
Thanks, Frederic. And so welcome everybody, and let's all hopefully have a great day.